writing and I haven't been waiting for a response. I've actually been waiting for validation, you know? I've been waiting for somebody to say, you know, you've got great writing capability, what you've got to offer is brilliant, you matter, your story matters, your journey matters, these other women's stories who were within this book, their stories matter.
Drive. So what I started to do, I started to just like buy and sell domain names when the internet was like literally you had to plug it into your wall. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's so easy because you're chasing this dream and this vision that you have, and to feel as though you need to be working all hours of the day. And yes, there are some days where you need to push yourself that little bit harder, but you really need, if you haven't got your health and your well-being, you haven't got any business.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, where I am joined by phenomenal women in business sharing their journeys, their experiences and their advice for other aspiring women in business. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you click that subscribe or follow button and make sure that you like, share and comment if anything in this interview resonates with you. Today, I'm really excited. I am joined by the founder of Ariatu PR, Ronke Lowell.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me on.
Thank you for accepting the invite. So tell us about your business. What do you do and how did you come to do it?
So I am a PR consultant, PR and communications consultant. So I work with small business owners, entrepreneurs in their public relations and communications, strategy, media relations, personal branding, anything that basically builds their reputation, builds trust with their audiences and kind of gets their brand out there. I started many years ago. I don't want to give away the years because I'm starting to feel like I'm old. I'm not old, and there's nothing wrong with being old. Actually, there's nothing wrong with getting older. Every year we get older means we're still alive. So we
Amen.
But I started when I was in my early 20s. I wasn't happy in the office job I had, and I remember a friend I had at the time, friend-stroke colleague, was starting a business, and they needed some help with their marketing, and that kind of sparked an idea in me to start a business. And I started in my early 20s very naively, we'll get into that later. And I guess the story kind of starts from there.
Mm-hmm. So what was the kind of step you took? So this person needs help, right? I'm quitting my job. I'm just going to run with this business thing.
This is when you know, when you're, and I again, like I say naively, but when you're younger in spirit, although I do think we can all take risks at any age, you kind of take more chances. And I took a chance in my early 20s, having helped this friend with their marketing plan and their business plan. And I was like, this is good. And I'm not happy in my office job, even though my office job was secure. I made money. I wasn't happy though.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started working on my business plan, started doing the usual kind of taking the usual steps. And went from there. And yeah, I didn't have a background in business, but I did study business at university. I didn't have a network, but I learned how to network very quickly. I didn't really have that much money. I had my savings, but I don't come from a family of privilege. I come from a working class family. So I had all of these kind of barriers that at the time I didn't realize were barriers. I just got on with it and just moved. I moved without thinking. I had an idea. I started doing my work. I started working towards the kind of vision of I've got this business, but I have to be honest, there was a lot of naivety there. I kind of used my motivational kind of, I am going to be great, hat on. And actually, looking back on it, I took a big risk and a lot of chances. But, we give thanks that I'm here and it's helped to shape my story.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's interesting. I have a similar story. I started my business in my 20s, but I didn't really have a proper job. So in terms of savings and stuff, I didn't have anything. I just decided I'm in business and that's it. And very quickly, it doesn't work like that when you don't have any money to put behind you. I don't know what I was doing. I think youth, although you can take risks at any age, I think youth gives you the kind of fearlessness to just take that leap.
Yes.
Which when you're a bit older, there's more things that you start to consider.
Well, this is the thing, right? And and the funny thing about life is, the older you get, the more you realize you become more formed, you shape yourself, you know your identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so whilst you have that enthusiasm when you're younger, you really don't, even if you think you know, you don't really know what it is you want. Well, I thought I knew, but I don't think I did really know. Now, looking back, I'm thinking, all these lessons I've learned, and I give thanks, I'm here. So actually, turning back the hands of time would not serve me, because I think I'd probably make the same mistakes. But now it's like, okay, we have all of these kind of adulthood responsibilities, but if I still had a little bit of that youthful kind of, that spark, if I could find a way of kind of using it, that energy, in a different way to transform, I think it'd be quite exciting. I still have it, but like you rightly say, the older you get, the more kind of discerning you become, and there's more responsibilities that kind of hold you down and keep you in place. Mm-hmm. So we need to find that balance, because I want us to still be brave and courageous, mm-hmm. especially as women and entrepreneurs. But at the same time, we need to kind of look at life and in all of its truths and realities. You know, I get tired now. A lot more tired than I used to.
I was waiting to finish to say that thing. I wish I had the energy of when I was younger, because I'm tired. As I'm speaking to you, my eyes are burning.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. That makes a difference. But what I think one of the things as well, when you're younger, I think especially for women, there's two key points. When you're young, people think that you're crazy and you don't know what you're doing, so they don't necessarily take you seriously. When you get older, people think, okay, the time's passed, you shouldn't do it. What was the response of the people around you? Because I know my family took that's crazy, what are you doing, go and get a job response. What about yours?
Yeah, same. I think, and this is the thing, but I'm quite stubborn, but I'm stubborn, but also if I can prove that something works, I try and prove that something works quite quickly. Mm-hmm. So I proved that it worked quite quickly, even though, to be honest, it wasn't as stable as my job. So I think, but my mum was just, as long as I was safe and secure, she was okay with it. Some of my friends just thought I was completely loony, bananas, completely just off my rocker. But then again, I tried to surround myself. I didn't mind that, because that's natural. And actually, having those people in your life, you can't have people who just agree with everything you do. Yeah. You need balance in life. That's why the world is the way. You need a little bit of, you need those challenging thoughts. You say, actually, no. And then you can say, actually, yes. Or actually, maybe they're right. Maybe I need to kind of pivot. So I had some of those reactions. And those reactions, they're human. And I don't want to say I proved them wrong, because, I proved them wrong. But I also learned a lot. And sometimes they were right. They perhaps didn't know how to articulate it. But in some aspects, looking back, and even to this day, there was some level of truth there. But they probably just didn't know how to articulate it.
It's interesting. I've never thought about it like that. And actually, whether they were right or they were wrong, I think when you have those kind of naysayers, what it does is it forces you to prove to yourself, so that you can prove to them that you know what you're doing. And it kind of can be used to spur you on and motivate you. And exactly. I suppose I normally look at it as negative. Like, there's these people that have been around you and have got this bad mind attitude because they don't want you to win. But actually, it can be quite a force for motivation as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And remember, if people who there's this whole conversation about having people who won't support you anyway. They will just there's people who are just scared, and they're scared on your behalf. There's people who, when they see you're doing the thing that they think that they ought to be doing, they're going to try and make you shrink as well, right? So it's not even that they don't want you to do it. It's like you're a reflection. Suddenly you're reflecting all their fit. Like, oh wow, if she's doing it, why can't I? And then obviously they're gonna say stuff that's gonna make you feel like you should shrink. There's so much to it that's more than simply, okay, they're a hater, or they don't believe in you. There's human beings are complex. There's so many more complexities than we give ourselves credit for. And I always try and find a lesson in those conversations, because like you already say, it could easily just say, oh well, they're negative. But I always try and learn something, even from those naysayers. And sometimes, like I say, sometimes those naysayers might have had a point, but like you say, we prove them wrong and we keep it moving.
For sure. Who would you say was your biggest support at that time, and in what way?
Oh, Daniela. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna have to say God was my biggest support. Like I want to say it was my family, and I want to say it was my mum. But I'm going to say it was me and God at times, because, you know, growing up where I grew up in Hackney, being born in Hackney, growing up in Hackney in the estate, for the first 5 years or so of my business career, I was still living at home. Because again, I started my business in my early 20s, right? So I was still living at home, and culturally, there's nothing to be ashamed of in diasporan communities of staying at home. You know, some of my university friends, they moved out, but I stayed at home, and that was fine. So that was my way of like being secure and safe. But I have to say, and I have to give all glory to God, even to this day, because there's some times when I am so tired where it's like, if not for God's grace, I wouldn't be here. And this is not necessarily a sermon. You know, I think everybody has a right to whatever belief they have. But for my testimony, I can only account for God's presence in my life. Then obviously, you know, I've had some really good individuals. You know, my sister has been very, very supportive. Even if she didn't understand, sister's been very supportive. My mum, in the sense of just being there. She would have no clue what it is I'm doing, but she's just there. You know, when you just have that beacon of like certainty that she's just there, that's all I needed from her. And then I have to give myself a little bit of credit, you know. I have to give myself the credit of, you know what, Ronke, I never gave up on Ronke. I never gave up on myself. And that's not trying to be like an ego thing. It's literally, if I don't see my own greatness and the gift that God has given me as great, then I don't know what the point of any of this is. So I have to give myself that credit.
No, and don't apologize for it. I think a lot of time as women, and especially women of color, we play down the role that we ourselves have played in our success or on the journey to success. And actually, it's refreshing to hear you say, yeah, like me, I am involved in this process, because a lot of the time we don't ever include ourselves as one of the contributing factors to where we've made it. And it's important. And speaking of the grace of God, the first kind of year of going it alone, what would you say were some of the biggest challenges, and how did you overcome them?
The biggest challenge for me was my confidence. And that stayed with me, my lack of confidence or low self-esteem. And it's very strange, because naturally I'm a confident person. So my authentic, deep-rooted self from a very young age has always been confident, right? But I think the social structure, mechanisms at play have made me question that true, authentic self. So, you know, for many years, even in the first few years of my business, whilst I would project this confidence, because I had to, I even gave my business name before isn't what it is now. My business name before was a business name that made me seem like I was bigger than I was, and I had to project this confidence, so it almost felt like I was performing confidence as opposed to just naturally being who I really am. So I would definitely say that inner voice, that voice that believed that I was less than worthy, but that's because society kind of makes you, and you know, I have to be really honest, as a black woman in this country, being a confident black woman anywhere, but being a confident black woman in this country, you know, I don't want to get too political, can be very difficult, because what I find is it's almost like you're not allowed to be loud. You're not allowed to be gregarious, because you're constantly having to battle with, whether it's business or the workplace, the microaggressions and the macroaggressions of, well, you're intimidating, you're this, you're that, you know, all of those words that I don't want to internalize. But you don't want to internalize, but you end up kind of internalizing them, right? And so I believed a lot of that. And so in my first few years of business, it was my confidence. So I wanted to project success without being too intimidating. And it's only really in the past few years, and again, this is where the beauty of age comes in, I am coming into, actually, I am it. I am who I am, and I'm still working on it. I'm not quite there yet, but I am who I am. And I want to get back to the young Ronke who was really purely confident, loving, and full of grace. Like I was just like, you know, I want to get back to that. I'm getting there, but not quite. So I would definitely say it was that challenge. And I think the way I overcame that was, you know, prayer, reading, consuming good content on positive reinforcement, and you know, self-coaching, but also getting coached or mentored by really good role models in the industry.
And I think that's important. There's a lot of women that are embarking on business journeys who don't have a coach or a mentor to support them and guide them and help boost them in ways that they're potentially not able to do for themselves. And what is even more interesting is, obviously, we had a discussion before we started, and I remember meeting you, and I believe it's probably because you have quite a confident character that you always, like, your name always stuck in my head as I remember meeting this woman. So the idea that you potentially at that time, because this was many years ago, was still in this kind of self-doubt phase, it's just so interesting. And people always say to me, oh, you're so confident. And I had the opposite experience of you, actually. Growing up, I was very shy, very quiet, like sit in the corner and just do my writing and wouldn't say boo to a goose type person. And it's only as I've got older that I've started to kind of come into my own. But even no matter what the outward appearance is, I still suffer with self-doubt a lot. I've got a coach at the moment who loves to tell me off when I'm like, oh, maybe I should just do this with maybe just 20 people. No, what do you mean 20 people? That's too small. Think bigger. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but what if people don't want to come? So there's a lot of women that I speak to, that I engage with, that I interview, that all have these kind of issues of self-doubt. And I suppose across the spectrum, those who, like you, were confident in their life, but then in business have not necessarily been able to bring that through 100%, or like me, was always very quiet and retiring and is then trying to find that confidence latterly. So no, it's very interesting. Speaking of your childhood, did you ever have an inclination that you were going to go in business, or is it definitely something that you just decided to do once your friend asked you?
I don't even know where it comes from. So I believe, and I'd love to do. My mum she's a talker, but she's an interesting character. So she hasn't given me the whole history of my family legacy, because I would love to know my ancestral roots, in the sense that there's a spirit inside me from that's always been there. So I think, because actually I retract that statement, because my grandma is a businesswoman in Lagos in Nigeria. She's got her own little shop and businesses. She has she's always had businesses. And I think my great granddad as well was a trader, but I need to have that conversation again to kind of go back to it. You know, when you're moving, you think the stories are there, you hear the stories, and then you kind of forget. So I think I've always had the spirit in me of entrepreneurialism. I remember writing down when I was about 10 or 11, maybe even younger, that I wanted to be successful and I wanted to be rich. And I think that comes from, I grew up in the 80s, so that was a height of capitalism, unfortunately. And it comes from, despite growing up in a socialist household, my parents are Labour supporters and so am I, you see what money can do, right? And what it can't do, unfortunately. So I grew up working class, and I wanted to be rich, not because I wanted to be rich just to have nice fancy things. I wanted to be rich and be an entrepreneur so that I could make a difference. Yes. And I saw the power of money to make a difference in people. Now, it sounds like a bit of an anomaly, because capitalism doesn't necessarily always work to people's favor. As we know, it doesn't actually necessarily work to people's favor. But for some reason, I equated making money to doing better in life, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of us probably did. Now I know that's not necessarily the case, but I've always had that appetite for entrepreneurship. It doesn't have to mean I want to be like the richest woman in this country, but I know I have an appetite for greatness and some kind of influence and power in that space. So yeah, from a young age, I've kind of always known.
Did that ever play out in anything you did? So, for example, for me, I've always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and at a very young age, I did stuff like washing cars, braiding hair to generate extra income. Do you have any similar stories that you can share?
Yes, I mean, I used to sell friendship bracelets on my playground at school. I'm trying to think. I'm sure I had small little businesses, and I'm trying to think of like the other little businesses I had. I think one of my closest friends, she used to be able to make. She's a fashion designer now, but she used to be able to make dolls' clothes. I need to ask her. I'm pretty sure we used to sell the little dolls' clothes as well. On the playground. So there was always something. It was always something of like trying to kind of, it wasn't even just about making money though. It was just about this kind of recognize, this transactional, seeing when you have an idea, seeing how it can bless people, like the friendship bracelets I used to sell for like 10, 20p. And it used to make me happy. And I could create them. I used to use a thread and make them like platinum, sell them for 10p. It used to make people happy. I used to make money. That used to make me happy. It was this great cycle, but it was a really good cycle because I felt like I was leaving a legacy. People were still wearing them, and so you're making me just look. I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's always there. little playground stories of. But I'm sure there was more, but I just honestly can't remember. But I'm sure there's more.
And you kind of touched upon inadvertently the idea of values in business. What is making people happy and fulfilling kind of certain specific objectives for people part of your business values?
Yeah, it always has been. I think the problem with that though sometimes, and it's not a problem. So having values and purpose and a purpose-driven business is a problem. I think unfortunately society has misled and misguided people to believe that in business you have to be fundamentally ruthless. You have to be, at any cost, like just do. I want my business to be holistically purpose-driven and value-driven. I want people to, when they're interacting with me, engaging with me, to feel like I have left. It's not about me. It's about I have empowered them within whatever space they're in. So with the PR and the comms that I do, it is very much about the client is centered, right? And I just want their stories to be told in an authentic way. So it's really important for me, but I think sometimes in business, I don't know if that always works. And I'm being very honest with you, because I feel like it should work, but sometimes you feel like the world makes you think that the only way to really survive and thrive is to be cutthroat. I don't necessarily agree, but this seems like the social structure that's been developed for success. But I hope what I do in my business removes us from that way of thinking and adds that kind of purpose-driven mindset to the business and entrepreneurial space.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And I think if there's more people that think in the way that you think, and I think in that way too, then maybe we can create a kind of an eco space where actually there's more people doing business in a nice way, still with ambition and still with a commercial drive, but not like removing all of the ruthlessness and actually just being nice to people. I think
exactly.
That should be a better road to success than being mean.
Absolutely.
And if we're talking about women in business and female entrepreneurship, the more women that go into business, and this is really stereotypical, but women generally, in a sweeping generalization, are not, I don't think, as generally ruthless as men. And also we are different to men, and I think that those differences should be celebrated. And actually, the more women that enter the entrepreneurial space and start to do business with purpose and with values at the heart of it, and not just money by any means necessary, then hopefully the general space of entrepreneurship will change.
Absolutely agree. Thank you. That's awesome. Spot on.
So, how long have you been in business? What's the exact length of time?
You're very correct. So over a decade. So it's going to come up to about 14, 15 years. Although I've had kind of entrepreneurship break. So I was CEO of a small charity in between that. And then I came back out of that to rebrand the business. So on paper, it's about 15 years, but really it's probably closer to 12-ish. I mean, I still had my business when I was CEO, but it's that kind of gave me a bit of a pause so I could work on another project.
So tell us about that. Well, a few things. How did you manage to keep the business going whilst you was in work? What kind of led to the decision of working?
It was a transitional phase. I think I was coming to a point, because I'd started my business so early, there were so many gaps, knowledge gaps, that no matter how many, I could have gone to lots of events and whatever, but actually sometimes you need to find yourself in an environment where you are working and to learn and upskill. So what I found, and it was just partly intentional, but also by chance, an opportunity in a small chamber of commerce in London, And it just was an amazing experience. And I applied for it. I didn't think I'd necessarily get it, in a sense of looking at the job title. It was quite a big job title, but the job spec was like, oh, I can do all of these things they want me to do. Mm-hmm. So I went for it, and actually I got it. And I think I'm so blessed, because I don't know if I'll ever have a similar experience if I were to go, for example, pivot back into the world of work, because president of the organization at the time was such a visionary. He saw, I'm completely opposite from the former CEO. So he saw the value that I could add, the confidence I had, and the ideas I had, and he just gave me that chance. Now, if I was to say, okay, I want to take another break from business and go back into work, would that happen again? I don't know. And but it was a really great experience. I was there for just under 3 years, and I worked with, there's a Chamber of Commerce, lots of small business owners. And again, it helped me to sharpen my knowledge. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have looked at my business coming back out of it and pivoted and just said, okay, I need to rebrand. This is what I need to do. This is how I can improve in terms of leadership and confidence. So I always say, in business, wherever you are in life, you have a choice. You don't have to kind of be imprisoned by what you think you're doing, whether it's in work or in business. You can decide, I want to quit my job and start a business, or you can decide, I want to quit my business and start, working. I didn't quit my business. I still had my business at the time, but it was very kind of like I scaled it back, basically.
How did you deal with that? Was there any sort of kind of emotional attachment to, I'm a businesswoman versus now I have a job? How did you deal with being on somebody else's schedule? And I asked this question because I've spoken to quite a few people who may be struggling financially or have knowledge gaps, and the idea of going into work for them is like a step down, as opposed to a means to improving knowledge or accessing the finance that you need to take your business to the next level. So I assume you did it with a happy face, but
yeah, you know why? I'll be honest. And this is why it's important to center yourself in God's purpose, or center yourself in your spiritual purpose. I think I realized that if whatever my ego was telling me, I had to be like, yo, ego, you're not serving me really right now. You have to have a conversation with yourself, and it's like, no, like humbling yourself sometimes can be a very rewarding experience. In my personal experience, humbling myself and saying, look, Ronke, this is what you need to do to take you where you need to take you to where you need to get to. And it might happen again where I feel like, actually, look, Ronke, this is what you also need to do to take you. And sometimes you have to humble yourself. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be modest about you can still be a successful business person even if you go back into the world of work. There is no failure. You're not, it's not a failure admitting to yourself, this is what I need to do to improve the trajectory of my life, right? What becomes a failure is if you allow your ego to dictate these moves, and you're now shrinking yourself, or you're now forcing yourself into a corner that is not serving you. So for me, I just had a conversation with me, and I had to be like, look, this is where I need to go. And yes, you have to say, taking orders or whatever from people. But to be honest, my clients, I have to take orders from my clients every single day. So it was no different to me. Like I always see, my business is still work, because I have clients who require me to be in a certain place. Okay, I might be able to work from my laptop anywhere in the world, but they still need me to check in. They're still my bosses. So just because I'm, a consultant and I can do, I have this freedom on paper, I still have multiple bosses because they still have to pay their invoices to me. So it's just a different structure. So yeah, for me, it's about having that conversation with ego. And I think a lot of the conversation around entrepreneurship is rooted in ego, unfortunately. When we look at like the motivational kind of personal development space, a lot of it is rooted in ego.
Is there any particular people that you're referring to?
I'm not going to say any names.
So yeah, we're not going to name any name, but no, I tend to agree with you up to a certain point. I think that there's a certain amount of ego needed to help you with the kind of confidence bit, but then also you need to be able to check yourself sometimes and realize when the ego is taking over and stopping you from making the decisions that actually are in your best interest, even if outwardly to the public it doesn't necessarily show you to be this badass boss that's only ever going to work in this specific space and only ever going to do these things. And I think that's a lot of the time why some people end up really struggling in business, because they're so worried about what everybody else is going to think of them that they don't necessarily do the things that they know that they need to do for the sake of themselves or even their business in the long term.
Absolutely.
It's definitely difficult. On your journey, who would you say has been kind of the most influential person to you, whether that be a famous person who's inspired you, or it could be somebody from within your network? Is there anyone that's really made you say, actually, I can do this because they've done it?
Oh, you know, there's a lot of, I think it's a lot of people on the ground who I'm just so blessed. There's people everywhere. You know, I think it's the usual suspect. so he's called Oprah a usual suspect, but I think, you know, her name is often used to the point of it's like, okay, yeah, you know, it's an obvious, you know, Oprah. But then when you pay attention to Oprah's story, I love her story and her journey. I'm not trying to be her. I think she has served her purpose in this world, and I think she's magnificent at it. But I think we learn from our elders and our role models, right? So for someone like her, she's been a great, because she surrounded us in media, so she surrounded our realm of what is possible for a Black woman. So I will always kind of have that respect for her. But I always sometimes think like, oh, it's got to be more people. Everybody always says Oprah. It's like, it's more people than oh, goodness.
This is the point of this, right? This is the point of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, because I always say Oprah too. Everyone says Oprah. At this point,
yeah, we find new role models. But I do love Melody. There's an amazing business leader in America called Melody Hobson. And people ought to look her up. She's got an amazing background in finance and kind of leadership. She's an amazing woman. I really admire her. And I just look towards anybody in my network, literally, who is just doing their own thing. I try not to be too attached to kind of, you know, celebrity or obsessed with celebrity status entities, even though I said, you know, I do love Oprah, but I'm not obsessed to the point of, you know, I don't worship people. I worship purpose. So I feel like I admire certain people, but I think I respect what they do, but it's ever evolving and ever changing. And you know, in this world, sometimes when you start digging into people and you look at certain things, you're like, you know, certain people, they might have at one point be a role model, and then you look at it again, you're like, well, actually not anymore. Some people, you know, not
again, not naming any names.
like, you know, you grow.
Speaking of finance, you mentioned obviously finance a few moments ago. One of the key issues that so I'm a business consultant, and one of the issues that I always come across is this kind of lack of financial understanding and financial knowledge of business owners, and particularly those that, and this is again a sweeping generalization, but I include myself in this, individuals that come from a working class background, not necessarily being taught how to manage money because money was scarce, therefore there was not anything really to manage. How have you learned to manage finances, and how were you raised around finances, and what impact has that had on how you manage finances in your business?
Well, we were raised from a place of, you don't waste money, and you save money, you hold on to money for dear life when you've got it. You don't waste it, you spend it on necessities. You can treat yourself. So that's not to say we didn't treat ourselves. That's not to say my mum didn't, like, you know, treat us. We didn't get some nice things once in a while. But on the overall kind of grand scheme of things, I recognized that my relationship with money was deeply rooted from a place of lack, almost constantly saving and not releasing. But that's not to say that I wasn't willing to spend when I needed to. So that I've always been that kind of person who, if I can't afford it, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to disrespect anybody by trying to kind of undermine or expect anything for free. So that's humbling myself. I'm not going to try and say, oh, do me a favor, unless it's a collaborative opportunity. I'm very clear that I want to pay people their worth. So if I haven't got the money at a time, I wait until I've got the money, then I pay them. Now, I've had to also shift in the sense of allowing myself to enjoy my money. I've kind of carried, because I was raised with a sense of like, you've got to hold on to money and save, and don't waste it. So, because if you waste it, you're gonna have any more of it. But yet still being surrounded with the fact that, oh, we're not necessarily moving up. So we're saving this money, or we're not spending money, but we're still working class. You see what I mean? There's still some challenges. So we give thanks that I've been able to move beyond, grow financially. However, I've also grown in the mindset of, it's okay to spend money. It's okay sometimes to even waste money, in the sense of, if I want something and I like it, there should be no guilt. I used to have the guilt of, if I bought something expensive, oh my goodness, Daniela, like the guilt of just like spending, like, when I can hear the voice.
I know that voice well.
How much did that cost? Why have you spent much money on that thing? And it could be anything. It could be even just a thing of me looking nice, feeling nice. Imagine that. Like, imagine carrying that guilt of, I like this thing, I've enjoyed myself, my spirit likes this thing, but then there's another voice inside me saying, you shouldn't have spent that money, or where are you going to get that money back from? And then in business, it kind of plays out in business, right? Because then you're panic driven, like constantly like, got to make sure I keep making this money. And then the money comes in and you've got to keep like collecting the money and holding on to it. What kind of a life is that? But that comes from that working class guilt. And I've definitely grown from that and shifted from that space. Sometimes still there, but I am a much better person. And it's really shown up in good ways in my business. Because I said to you earlier, if I see somebody I'm willing to spend on outsourcing, for example. I don't try and do everything myself. And I will spend my money on quality services. And I don't try and haggle. If somebody says it's their price, I will pay the person for their price. And what it does is it brings that back into my business. So I used to underprice for my services. Oh my gosh, Daniela. I used to underprice for my services. And I used to get people who would try and negotiate to the point of disrespecting me. And I used to feel like crap because I used to be like, okay, I'll do it because I need the money. And then I would work so hard for the pittance. And I'm like, what's the point of, and I'm thinking, what's the point of being in business if I'm now still struggling? What is this?
Yeah.
And so now, because of the shift of like, no, stand by my value, and my relationship with money has changed, I get better quality clients, and there's people, they don't haggle. This is how much my services cost. You can afford it, you can afford it. If you don't afford it, the door is there, or log off.
See you around.
Fine. Like and again, it comes with the ages wisdom thing. This is where we got to balance that kind of the youthful excitement and energy with the wisdom and confidence and self-assuredness of like, I am it, I have value, I deserve this and these things and the success and whatever.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There's a few key points that you just made that I want to double back to. One, this working class guilt. About January, the first week of January, me and my husband went shopping. We moved into our house in October 2018. We don't have any light fixtures. We went to Dunelm. The light fixtures that we wanted were there for the kitchen and for the living room. And I was saying, let's just get the two for the kitchen. My husband's saying, it's the sale. It's good. The living room one is going to go back up. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a lot of money to spend at one time. It's like, but it's going to be more if we do it next month, because obviously the price is going to go up. He was saying we don't have to struggle anymore.
Oh my God. Like, and it's the weirdest thing, because it's like, and this is why it's like, we look at these things and we work hard and we're trying to get to the next level in our lives, whether it's financially, whether it's spiritually, whatever. But then we still return to that place of struggle and guilt and what is that? Like I'm still but it's like you say, it's that working class guilt, and it's just that thing. And I think your story just then is just literally, I have had that story so it repeats itself with my other half, exactly the same conversation with my other half too. Like sometimes he's just like, what is like,
yeah, same thing. He turned and was like, we're not struggling anymore. And I'm like, oh yeah.
And the thing is, and this is where it makes it even funnier. That's why, once again, I say I love Oprah and I love, each of the companies. It's like, how can I say I love someone who clearly is an example of, she enjoys her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, when you read her interviews, she is very happy in her place in the world. She spends her money. So if I say that person's my role model, and yet I am still here trying to succeed, and I'm still feeling guilty for buying that pair of shoes, it doesn't make any sense. So sometimes it's like these contradictions of, we can admire people, but it's almost like we're saying, can we ever reach that status even in our personal life? Mm-hmm. I should also feel like I want to go out and buy fancy things and eat in nice places, which I do without carrying that guilt. And I can't just leave it up to these almost mystical role models who are there living these great lives and saying, live your best life. And I'm here saying, yes, I'm living my best life, but I'm still guilty.
Well, when does it go? Like, I'm wanting to know when it goes, because that light situation, once we got the lights up and I'm like, but they look so good. And my husband's like, see, and you wanted to leave it. I'm like, yeah. And this is why I haven't bought, and the same thing, as I said, we've been here since, 2018? Yeah. And we still haven't done upstairs lighting because the idea of spending all the money at once, like, I can't do that. Let's just do it one by one. And yeah, like, I'm going to probably now, after we've had this conversation, go and find all my lights and put all the lights up. Because it's true, we're not struggling anymore.
You're not struggling anymore, we're free.
No, it's true. The second point, outsourcing. I think that's such an important point to make, spending money on outsourcing. I think a lot of the time, particularly in the kind of early stages of running a business, but even some people I've met that are like 4, 5, 6 years deep and still trying to do everything instead of just outsourcing. What is the impact that outsourcing parts of your business has had on you personally and on the overall business?
When you for me, it's like spending money is like supplying a seed, right? When you send out that energy and spend and kind of outsource for the right kinds of services, it'll come back in so many different kinds of ways. There's certain things I just cannot do, and even if I try and learn to do them, I don't really want to learn how to code a website, for example. I don't mind updating my website. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind uploading information onto my website, but like, the design of certain things I don't necessarily want to do. I don't mind using Canva.com or whatever, or one of those websites to do an easy, flyer. No problem with that. But if there's something that's actually more technically, I need help, I am not going to spend time trying to figure it out. If there's someone who can just do it, and I've not only saved time, I've blessed somebody else's business, and it just looks good, or it does the thing it needs to do. Yeah. I've had the same accountant for the majority of the years I've been in business. And paying that person to do my books and it's like, I know I could probably learn how to do it, but it's just, I want to be able to sleep easy and just let someone else do it. And just, I'm even happy, something and it's so funny because we were talking about the whole not wanting to spend money. Sometimes I am happy to spend money on the things that are going to reduce my stress and are going to improve my business. So for me, when you identify individuals who can, they have got the skills and the talents that can help to improve your business, invest. It's just an investment. And especially if you're saying you want people to invest in your business, you've got to release that energy back into the world. Like, I've never understood this whole thing of you want to be successful in business, but yet you're not mirroring that at all. You're not blessing other people's business, but you want people to bless your business. It doesn't make sense to me. So, but yeah, whenever I outsource, I've seen it return to me tenfold. It has really helped. I could give you lots of examples of various ways of my business. So yeah, I recommend it. And then it's not even that I have because I don't have a team necessarily, but when there's something I need to get done, having people who I can tap into really helps.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the third point was around pricing. So you said there's been times where you've, I suppose, not charged your worth. How did you work out what price you should be charging? Because I know that a lot of people have problems with that. And then secondly, how have you been able to, and obviously you're many, many years deep into it now, but how did you get to a point where this is how much I charge and that's just it?
So initially I was charging what I thought that people would want. I underpriced myself because I thought, okay, how much is a good price and will people want to spend that money? And it wasn't like, again, that's that young, the mindset of someone young who just didn't. So my pricing back in the day was just so ridiculous. Looking back on it, given how much work I was doing, what I should have done and what I do now is, you research the industry average for a person at your level in your industry. So in my industry, for example, there's papers, there's lots of documents where you can find out how much a PR account director, a PR MD would earn, right? And then you can also find out how much consultants earn, freelancers earn. So looking at that and then positioning yourself in that average, what not only would make you comfortable, but also looking at your audience, okay, who am I aiming for? And actually knowing my audience, they have that disposable income. So I was able to calculate based on that, just doing the research, looking at the industry, looking at competitors as well, actually, I'll be quite honest. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think competition is always going to exist. You've got to be able to kind of be smart with it. So I did my work, I did my studies, and over the years I've improved on my pricing. I remember once, actually, I released a relatively new service. It was in alignment with media relations. So I released like a package, a very small package that was really popular. So usually how it works for me is you get a retainer service, and people pay every month for PR representation. But I also have these packages, one-off services. But I remember launching one just to see. It was very new, and it was this new one-off package that I was testing the waters with. And then I realized I was doing a little bit more work with it. When people booked the service, it was very popular, doing a little bit more work than I put down on paper that I said it should have been. And I remember getting one testimonial where one client was like, such great value service. I was like, hang on a minute. Even the client was probably thinking to themselves, wow, they could have charged, a little bit more. And it was another wake up call, like, whoa, Ronke, don't ever, even though it's okay because it was a new service. So I forgive myself because it was almost like I was testing the waters anyway. So it wasn't so bad. But when I read that testimonial, I was like, you know what, Daniela? Woo! I was like, no. I don't mind being called good value, but it kind of read to me like I was cheap. And I was like, hey, no.
Nope, we don't do cheap. No.
Yeah, I know that's not what the client was trying to get at, but it was something in my spirit. I was like, no, we're gonna change that. Eventually, I've changed it and gone back, but that was a good way. And again, it's okay. Sometimes pricing, you might get it a little bit wrong, or you might price too high. Like, I'm not even gonna say sometimes just price really high, because sometimes you gotta be realistic, right? In the economic foundation of the world, you can't just say, oh, I'm gonna charge thousands of pounds an hour. Be realistic. And sometimes you are going to charge slightly less, but you'll get there with your research and your time. And again, it's about your value proposition and proposition and your place in the market. Sometimes you've got to be realistic in terms of your experience and what you're offering to the market. But basically, research, value proposition, and my years in the industry enable me to charge what I charge right now.
No, I love that. Going to your actual industry and your business, and speaking a little bit more about kind of PR and stuff, one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to do is build a personal brand to help, I suppose, raise awareness of their business. What kind of tips would you give to somebody that's trying to do that, if any?
Oh, well, I mean, we're in a digital age right now, and I think we underestimate, the power. I still think, and I just don't know why, people underestimate the power of digital space, social media. So for example, I love your Instagram page. You've got a great image and visuals on your Instagram page. And I feel like, and I was having a conversation with a friend, she was asking me for some advice, and so I just gave her some advice on just her personal brand. I feel like we should use the resources that are available to us and get out of our own way. I still don't understand. I do understand, but I don't understand why, particularly women, shy away from using some of these digital platforms to showcase their personal brand. It doesn't take much to develop habits. Posting things that are intentionally reflective of the services or the expertise that you have can really do make a world of difference. So I feel like the first thing you need to do is look at the digital space, look at what you need to improve on social media, on your social media use, and be intentional. Not everything is going to be for you. but look at which of these spaces, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Twitter, whether it's LinkedIn, you can utilize to enhance your personal brand. Then I definitely say, look at yourself. And so when I say look at yourself, I have to be honest with myself a few years ago when my confidence monster was giving me the whole, oh, you're not good enough story. And I remember I had hosted a conference in I think it was Cambridge University. I was a chair of the conference. It was a fantastic event. And I remember somebody saying to me, you're a great host. You really should start a YouTube channel or something, you know? And I was like, oh, no. And I was like, no, I don't want to see myself. No, I don't want to record myself. But because these individuals' feedback was that the way I was presenting was great at the event, but video could really propel me. So I had to get out of my own way, look at myself, look at my confidence monster, my imposter monster, and say, okay, let's just get on with it and film some videos. And the videos were actually, they serve the purpose to speak to a greater audience, but they serve the purpose for me in building my confidence and enhancing my personal brand. So when you look and identify, okay, what are these little things that are stopping you from doing the things you need to do? Be honest. So for me, it was just the reinforcing of my confidence. Even though I could host a whole conference, I still needed that confidence reminder, and making those videos really helped build my confidence. For some people, it could be personal styling. It could be, you need to go and visit someone to get your how you know, and I hate to be superficial, but sometimes you just need to figure out what's going on externally as well. And then on the flip side, figure out what's going on internally. Because whether it's a coach, a therapist, a mentor, when you figure out what's going on internally, it blocks you from putting yourself out there. You can hopefully take the steps to improve. And I think when it comes to personal branding, I think you really need to do the work internally, externally, have honest conversations with yourself, and just take the steps you need to do to improve. Because I think it's easy to talk our way out of things when it comes to personal branding, but it can really empower how we position ourselves and how we position our businesses. Personal brand is really important and really powerful.
And that's a wonderful segue into the final question. 3 pieces of advice you would give to a woman who wants to start her own business or who is in the early stages of starting her own business.
So I would say my first piece of advice is, really do an assessment, really plan and look at, are you ready? Don't just think about whether you love this, because sometimes we do things out of the passion of, oh my God, I love this idea. Look at the idea. Does it have a place in the wider world and community? And will you have customers? So do the boring bit. The first piece of advice, do the boring work first. You can have passion. I don't have a problem with you having passion. But when the passion subsides, it's going to get tough. Will you be able to sustain your business afterwards? Yeah. Secondly, look at your finances. Be financially literate. So it kind of links back to the planning. Look at your finances, look at your pricing, undertake the work you need to undertake in terms of financial planning. And finally, the third one is, as I've been mentioning through the course of the conversation, work on your confidence. Now, you don't necessarily have to be the brand ambassador for your business. For some businesses, you can have brand ambassadors, or you can be behind the scenes. It does help if you can be the brand ambassador. But I still believe, even if you're not front and center of your business, do the work to build your confidence. Because when times get tough, when you're in negotiations or undertaking negotiation, when you're meeting, pitching, whatever it is, whether it's a service or product-based business, your confidence in your purpose, your sense of belief will drive you forward to keep working. And because there's going to be some really dark and tough days, and to be honest, you need that confidence.
I love that. Thank you so much. If people want to find out more about you, about your business, what platforms are you on? Where can they find you?
Okay, so ronkellerwell.com. I'm all over social media, Twitter, YouTube, and ariasupr.com. Got a great website, again, social media. And yeah, I'm here. I'm out here.
Fab. Thank you so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's really hard to try and keep it within the time frame because there's still more questions that I want to ask. So I'm just going to ask you after.
That's okay. Thank you so much, Daniela. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, for listening. As usual, click that like button and share and write a comment if there's anything that has really resonated with you. And also make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you are a woman in business and you want to be featured in She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, drop me an email to Daniela@she'sthebossintl.com. If you're a woman who is considering starting her own business, or if you started your own business and you want to take it to the next stage and you're looking for a straight talking critical advisor, also get in touch, drop me an email. I am currently looking for new clients to work with, help you to think big, take action, and keep pushing. So get in touch. And I'll see you again, same time next week, Sunday at 8 o'clock.